Hi and welcome to How to Use CAD. Staying with detailed sections, today we're going to create a stud partition wall section. So you will have the opportunity to learn how to design a stud wall, insert a door lining, a door and a window. It's an ideal tutorial for young designers looking to expand their knowledge in detailed sections. Partition walls. Everyone should know how to create a partition wall, so I've done a bit of preparation here, and the idea is to give you a bit of a brief and a bit of an explanation before we just get cracking with the design work. So for the lesson I've created a bit of partition wall already, and it's for a floor to ceiling that's 2.5 meters high. And I wanted to explain the basic names that apply to the various little parts. So, for example, on the base here now you've got a 4x2. This is a 4x2 stud wall, or 100 by 50 if we're on millimeters. Traditionally, even though it's in millimeters and the timber is sized in millimeters, in the UK building trade, the reference to it is 4x2 stud. So we have a 4x2 on the bottom, and then we have stud timbers uprights. So they're generally called uprights or stud timbers. The bottom is floor plate or sole plate, and on the top is a header plate or a ceiling plate. That's if it's spelled right. Ignore the spelling mistake for now. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is we'll just do a little end profile on that, because you're looking at it face on. Let's just do an edge profile, and for that what we need to do is create a section, tab 2500, tab 100. And just put that into position here. Of course I'm going to delete that now, because I realized it would have been more helpful if I just grabbed one of these and done a copy and then widened it to 100. So when you're using the CAD, we all know there's so many different ways of doing the same thing. So as you can see, I've achieved an edge profile already. Now what I want is, I'm going to borrow that little noggin, which is another part of the wall. I'll explain that in a minute. So if we can keep everything lined up, it might aid what we're trying to do. So this one I want to make it 100 by 50. So at the moment it's 100. So effectively, let's just put that down. If I want, I can put it there so it's well stuck down. Likewise, use the D function on the CAD, and now as you can see we're getting an end profile. I just need to do a top piece, which is the end of the header plate. Okay, so you've got, that's 100 mil wide, and you're looking at the end profile for this stud wall. Just get rid of that now. Right, so as you can see, first of all you put the plate in, and then you what you do is you actually put the bottom plate and the top plate in, and then pop the timbers in, so that you always have a flat plate on the ceiling and a flat plate on the floor. That's to spread the weight. It couldn't be any other way, otherwise the boards would go up through the ceiling or down through the floorboards. Now when it comes to putting noggins in, the noggins could be at 900 like this one, or the 1200. Now the reason for the height of the noggins, or the reason there's a difference in the height of the noggins, is that we put those in to suit the size of plasterboard we're using. So here, for example, we've got 2400, basically an 8x4 sheet, but it's 1200 by 2.4 mil, and that's an 8x4 sheet of plasterboard, and whilst this is a 6x3, 1800 by 9. So for example, now if I was covering the wall with this plasterboard, I wouldn't drop it on the floor. What I do is you generally go like so, yeah, so that it's center of the noggin, center of the joist, blah blah blah. Okay, and here now you'd cut that plasterboard along this line in the center and get a new piece. Likewise, if we were doing the larger sheet of plasterboard, we would do something very similar. So generally don't put it on the floor, because the floor can be out a little, and you'll find if you're slightly out of alignment, or if the floor is running out, you're going to end up having to cut the plasterboard at the bottom, maybe at the other side of the room. So now what happens is you do a, oops daisy, let me just put that back. Now what you would do is move the noggin up. So that it's got it on a 1200 center, so that's your noggin. Oops, a daisy, I keep messing up. Right, and then you carry on with the noggins all the way across. So, and then the next sheet of plasterboard, let's assume you were doing 8x4s. The next sheet of plasterboard you would stagger. Now what I mean by that is that you would probably start the plasterboard, let's just move that up just a fraction. You would start the board, say, similar to that. In other words, you do a sheet here, and you wouldn't put it directly on top of the one below. It's good practice to stagger the plasterboard. You put the plasterboard on like a bricklayer lays bricks. So you have one noggin, you're going to need another little noggin here. And the reason people use the smaller sheets is convenience. Easier to pick it up in the shop for one person dealing with it, easy to transport, easy to drag it up the stairs, easy to install it. A little bit more work on the installation, a little bit more waste, but at the end of the day it's a lot more convenient to work with. So that's a bit of an explanation on the plasterboard, and the main reason for telling you is to tell you these noggins, they don't just go in anywhere, like 2 foot, 2.5, 3. They go in according to what it is you're covering the wall with, and mostly it's plasterboard. So therefore it's 900 if it's 900 plasterboard, or 1200 if it's 2.4. That's about it really on the noggins. So I think what we want to do now is I'm showing you it's pretty easy to put the noggins in, right? So let me just give you an example how I would put the noggins in, and that's not it, so you'll have to forgive me for that. This is how I would do it. It's this one, isn't it? So Control C, Control V, I'll do a bit of copying here. There you go. Now it doesn't have to be perfect. Thomas, what are you doing? I'm glad I said it doesn't have to be perfect, because this won't be, I can tell. Right, so again, the black line does help. It helps to zero in on the snap modes for the noggin, and then it's nice to get one side in and then just stretch the other one as you need to. Then when you're done, just lose the line. Okay, that's your noggins, and then if you were putting another set in up here, let's assume we got another line going across here. Turn off snaps for a minute. Let's assume we were doing another line on the noggin there. Another line of noggins. Then turn back on, and then I would Control C, and let's see if I can move that into position here. There you go. So as you can see, it's pretty quick actually, and it's all done right, assuming the measurements are right. Okay, so I can lose that. I can lose stud uprights. So uprights are stud, that's what they're called. Lose the measurement, header, ceiling plate, sole, floor plate, end profile. Okay, there's nothing magic about that. So now here, let's just give you an example. I've just put a frame in here, and what we're going to do is fit a door. So what I've done is I built a frame. Now you need to start learning what the sizes are. So for example, standard door, and again within the UK, the reference to them is a standard door is 30 inches, but the reality is it's in metric because we've been in the EU for 30 odd years, so everything is metricated. So I'll show you a tool I use here. So this is I've taken from another screen beside me here. I use it for inches to millimeters because sometimes we refer to something as millimeters. So for our inches, and I want to know what it is in millimeters. So on a standard 30-inch door, 762 mil wide. Standard door is usually 6'6", which is 78 inches wide or 78 inches tall. So that's your height, 1981 or 1982, whatever you feel like putting in there. So when it comes to door lining, now door lining, the door doesn't sit next to the stud, it sits on a door lining, which sits next to a stud. So the door lining is 1.25 inches, so 1.5. So we allow 38 mil for the door lining. Let's see if that's what I've allowed here. Yeah, 32 mil, so we need 38 mil. I'm just going to check that now again. So if I bring back my translator, so it's actually inch, it's 1.25 inches, so 1.25, 32, that's better. So now this is on the side screen here, but if I need to convert anything quickly, and you can get used to doing the same thing. It doesn't matter what you want to switch over, metric and imperial and so on. Very useful little tool, and it's online, so you can use that all the time when you're designing. So this is 32, yeah, so it's the right size. So what I've done here now is first of all I put a door in. Now the door wouldn't sit on the floor because you need clearance so that the door swings in and out. So we usually allow about 10 mil for that. So I've allowed that. And then the door is never tight to the lining. The door, you need a margin for the hinge and for the door to open and close without touching. And for that we leave a margin of around 5 mil all the way around. So 10 mil up, 5 mil all the way around, and then it's 32 mil door lining put around. Normally, normally you put the studs in, but when you're making the allowance for the studs, you measure for the door, the 5 mil on either side of the door, and then the 32 mil lining and 32 mil lining. So what you don't want to do is create an opening in the stud work, say here for example. That's the size of the door. It has to be the size of the door plus the lining plus the margins for reasonable operation. So now if I was doing a door here, Just grab my stud and that's going to be spot on. As this one will be, because I've done the donkey work already, because there's lots to show you, and you don't want to end up dragging it out for over an hour. So that's basically the framework for a wall, a stud wall with a door with a door in the middle. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to put another stud in here. So the general rule for stud work is 400 millimeter centers, 40 centimeters, 400 mil. So if I was to go like so from the center of that stud, I would go tab 400. Now that should be the center of the next stud. So again now you're going to, you see that, but I can do that, and obviously it's not center. It's not center of the opening. So you have a choice here. Let me just put a D on this. So now the choice is, do you put the stud in the center or do you put the stud on 400? Well, either way would be correct. So you do whatever you please. Now here we have a horizontal stud. So this is how this would work. Let's put this around 800. And again, go D. And stretch this over. So now what happens is this stud gets nailed in or screwed in to the upright stud. So you have your lining, then you have your stud above it, and then we put a small one in, and we can just do that center of the door. Let's knock it down again for 400. Now here, it's up to you if you want to position. I would generally, above the door, it's generally making my life hard here. So there's loads to learn on the stud walls, but it's actually quite enjoyable, especially when you get to know what it's all about. You don't generally, because most of the builders know what's involved. They generally don't need a detailed section for it. But there are those obviously that don't know, and that's when the detailed section is required. So if I was doing plans now for a refurb or anything that needed a detailed section, I would need to give a detailed section on a stud wall. So shall we do the noggins on here? Yeah, why not? Let's do it on 300 plasterboard. So to do that, what I generally do is start off and I give it an allowance of around 25 mil, tab 25. So that way I'm effectively halfway on the width of the floor plate. So now if I create tab M80 times 9. I've got my sheet of plasterboard, and in this case we'll do it slightly different. So I brought it down here. That's what I should have done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the plasterboard a little bit of something. So So what should we do? Well, I think let's just do a faint dot on it. That would do it. Maybe not. Need a little bit more going on, so we can see that where we've done it. So plasterboard, you can do anything you want with it. No, that's often used for grass, that one. So let's pick another one. Yeah, okay, just for the sake of argument, we could go with that, but let's make it bigger, and let's do it grey. That's not going to work, is it? So I'm trying to get a contrasting colour going so that we can see what it is we're doing. Orange might work. Let's go back to black or mid-grey. Yeah, no, it's not really working. Alright, let's do a solid colour. And because let's face it, when we put the plasterboard on, you shouldn't be able to see anyway. So the outline grey as well, or no line at all. Okay, so now this plasterboard has to be starting there, and I'm going to bring it in to the edge. Oops, how clever is that? Right, so now that's plasterboard. So now what we know is where the noggins should be. The noggins, that's the center point. Let's just get a line going there. Right, so now if I take that away for a minute. Right, so simple way of doing this then would be to, where's my lines gone? Parallel line. So we said it was 900, so you go tab 900, tab 9. So now, if I do it here, Control C, and that should line up. And don't ask me why. It's there you go. We're not even seeing the lines, are we? Should have left the lines in. Did I do the noggin there? No, I didn't. I didn't do any noggins. I'm in such a rush to get the plasterboard on that I forgot to add the noggins. Right, so let's get the noggins in before we go astray. Control C. So you're learning how to use CAD because, but I'm not explaining the CAD. I'm explaining the details section, but I'm not explaining the CAD tools or the tools I'm using. So at least you're watching me, and hopefully you'll pick up on that. But I'm already kind of looking and considering that you already know the basics on CAD if you're looking at detail sections. So therefore you probably know the basic tools that we're using now for you know, lines and rectangles and but either way, I'm not doing anything too detailed. So just by studying the video, I think you should be able to see what it is I'm doing. Right. Control C, and we go again. Because they're a pair, let's see if I can put these in. I'm not sure these two are that accurate, but it's good enough for what we're trying to do, yeah. Okay, so now that's your stud wall. That's actually it. So normally what you'd do now is you'd get your, this is your Celotex. This is actually a fairly thick one. I think it's like, it looks like about 100, maybe 125, but normally now you'd pack that in. Well, what we would do is we'd cover one side, if we were building, we'd cover one side of the partition. Then you fit this Celotex, cut it into squares. You can cut it with a saw, it's very easy to cut. Pop it into all the openings, and then once you've done that, you start to cover this side. And you'll see now this is standard size. The height is 900, which is exactly what you need for the for this particular wall. Oh, because the studs were drawn, I get it, because the studs were drawn after the plasterboard was drawing, they're going to come out on top. I think that's quite funny. Right, this is too big. Okay, you know how to do the draw order. Come on, this polyline, draw, tools, draw order, center back. Tools, draw order, center back. So you are learning CAD after all. Here's me worried you wouldn't be learning enough CAD. So let's see if we can do it all, do a bit more in one hit. Draw order, center back. Now, have I got this right? No, I haven't got this right. This needs to go up to the door lining. It needs to cover the stud. So I did it right the first time. So that it covers the stud timber and goes up as far as the door lining. And so now how you do this bit, I'll give you an example as to what they would likely do on site here, is they go like so. That's the door lining. And then they'd get a small piece. What I should do is perhaps put the outline on these, and put a grey outline, slightly darker. See what shows up. So light grey, I want mid grey. See if that's going to show. Alright, go again. So, solid, pen, sorry, I was just testing something because I want to get in that. Now you see that's not quite right. Let me just check something here. Yeah, orange, that's fine. So the outline should be dim grey. So if I make the outline, say, yellow, then I should have a yellow outline, but I don't have. Not quite sure why that's not working properly. So let me just reverse back. Yeah, in other words, the board, so if I take one out, just put it out here separately, in fact, create a new one. There you go. And then just fill this. Yeah, it's got the outline, but I don't seem to be able to put the outline on this the same way. So there's a little hiccup on the software there, and I'm not going to waste time sorting it out. But really what I'm telling you is, I'm showing you now, we're covering so this one. There wouldn't be enough to do it in one hit, as in go the full way across. So what they would do is they would do this in another section, or not, would they? Let's see. So that's not right, so now they'd have to go halfway across the face of the stud. Got the wrong, I got the edit tool instead of the line tool. It happens. I'm not quite sure why they package the edit tool so close. I don't use it that much, and as a consequence, occasionally I pick it up by mistake and I'm trying to draw with it, which doesn't seem to work. Right, that's good. Now likewise, this has come out as well, halfway. Let's not use that one, let's use the one with the black line on it. And right, now we're getting progress. It's a good introduction to stud walls. You're not only designing them, but you're actually you're building one. It's almost like you got the tools out and the hammer. I pushed the wrong key there, which is fantastic. Now this one, I'm going to do this in a particular way so that you will kind of know this is how the builders are likely to cover this area, because there's usually a little indent there. I'll explain it in a second when we get to it. So that's, you see what happens is when the board covers the stud, it goes halfway. You can't have the board halfway on the stud, so it's covering all of the top plate, all of the header plate above the door, and half the two uprights. So now you've got timber for these three elements. So if I make a copy of that, and let's just change to D, and we go to there. And we go. There you go. Now we're seeing it built as it should be. Right, so we'll use this as an example, and I can go. I'm looking which way I can do this. I can go so. So normally what they would do now is they would get a piece of plasterboard, go like so, and then cut a little notch out of that so that it sits properly. I'm not about to do that here. I could do, but it's going to take time, and we are not into time now at the moment, because we have loads to do. I'm going to take a simpler way of doing it. Now you see a simpler way of doing it. Right, like I did on this side. And incidentally, the plasterboard can be turned on its side. It doesn't always have to be go landscape. You can do it the other way. So now we've built a wall. We've put the, oops, let me just gone too far down, remember? I wouldn't normally do it down to the floor. So what I would do there now is keep the plasterboard just a touch off the floor. That's good. That's more about insulation rather than design. But I think if you're building, and you're advising the builders, then advise them 12 mil up or 25 mil, half the sole plate, and that's a really good way of doing it. Right, so now you got a solid wall. You've covered it over with plasterboard, and so on and so forth. Right, what else can I show you? You've learned how to build a wall. You've learned how to create an opening. Shall we build one quickly from scratch now? Just to make sure you've actually got it. Yeah, let's do that. So we're not even going to utilize those bits. We're going to do everything from scratch, and we do it kind of quickly. So the timber is 50 mil wide and the wall is 2.5. So tab 2500, tab 50. And I could have done that the other way around. It would save me having to turn it, but I didn't. So I'm bad. That's what I am. Now, what I would say to you is once you get, that's an upright. So let me get a floor plate going, or I can use this as a floor plate. That's probably the smarter move. Right. Once the floor plate is in, just make a copy. Before we do that, I think we need to be filling this with something. So last time I used, and I put a colour. Shall we do a different colour this time? Why not? Let's do, let's see, let's do a purple colour. Is that going to show? Not really. Do a colour that shows. Oh yeah, my favourite. Right. So we're going to make a copy, and we're going to flip it, and so now remember I said every 400 centers. That's how it works. So what I tend to do when I'm making, sometimes it keeps snapping to everything, as you know, and the end result is that it doesn't go where you want it to go. Oh wow. So find an easier way of doing this. Right, so what I like to do is just do a line and then tab -400. Did that hit? Yeah. Tab -400. So I'm building lines to show where the partitions are going to go. Tab -400. Tab -4. Tab -4. Tab -4. Yeah, we're doing a decent sized wall here. That'll do me. And then if we Control C, we're going to copy and paste this lot. Control V. Might be worth actually doing the D in the center here, just so I can pull it like so, and then copy and paste those with the D in the center, because if I do that, see the difference, it's much quicker. Instead of having to go in D, also copy and paste on these now. They've already got the D sector in, the D section in. Control V. So when you're a little bit over or under, like here now for example, let me get rid of the lines, so tidy as we go. And then I'll explain. So we started off and we've done all the uprights at 400. So here now, as you can see, the upright, we've got a little bit of space left over. Now, because it's only 50mm, I wouldn't necessitate putting in a stud and then putting a second one beside it. So I let it go. But if it starts to be 100, then you're going to have to put a stud in and then another stud. That's generally how it would work. Right, so now that's the sole plate. If I make a copy, I can put it on the head here, and head plate is on. Now it's noggins. We're going to use, this time we're going to use 300 again. 6x3, 1800. So if I do, that's the quick simple way, tab 18. No, that's wrong. That should be 900. Because it's 900 and that's all the way along 900. So we're not doing any door or window on this one. So now what we want to cover it, we're doing noggins now at the moment, yeah. So noggin, we said we wouldn't steal out. I was automatically coming over to get one there, but we said we wouldn't do that. So, no, that's a line, and I don't want a line. I need, so we go tab 400, tab 50, and we're going to use a fill on it. And the fill was this one. And then the color was, what are we using? We're using magenta. Right, so now let's go down here and see what we're doing. Put the D on and let it snap. Control C. Control V. Control V. Wrong one. Control V. And then we can work them all out. Right. So it's always better before you copy and paste to get your you use your D wherever you want it, so that it's easier and quicker to snap in. Right, get rid of the line. What can I say? That's magic. The only difference was on the end one, because remember, that's a little bit more than 4. So now what we're going to do is copy. Before I do that, I need to do a line for the positioning. Tab 900. Tab 900. Oh, really 900? Well, I guess if it says it's 900, then I guess it is. So let's have a little look again. That should be a perfect match. That's your stud wall. What was it? 2.5. So now, again, sole plate or floor plate, ceiling plate or top plate. These are the studs and these are the noggins. Very nice, Thomas. These are the noggins, and the positioning is determined by the plasterboard you're going to use, be it 6x3, 8x4, that sort of thing. And if there's no one there to tell you, then you make a decision. It's nice to get it spaced out properly. So I wouldn't have done 4s on this, because a 900 high would, a 6x3 900 high would have been more sturdy. When you do put the plasterboard on, stagger it. Do it by bricks. Don't just do it on top of each other and keeping the line. So what we're trying to avoid is one complete line floor to ceiling with plasterboard, where the plasterboard meets. So you go up, you go across, it goes, and that's going to make a much stronger finish when you do it like that. Okay, you've done your first stud wall. This is fantastic, really. It should be very straightforward. Once you have these fundamentals, we can show you how to do corners, we can show you how to do angles, we can show you how to turn the walls, put windows in, put all sorts of bits and pieces into the wall. The lining, the spaces, don't forget, architrave needs to go on top of that, and you got skirting and so on and so forth. So yeah, I think it's a good lesson. By now you should be able to design your own stud walls. What can I say? Each and every one of you, thank you very much for watching in and for taking the time to stay with this tutorial. Hopefully you've added some value, or hopefully you got some value. Don't forget, subscribe, leave a message if you want to see the other videos. We're doing a lot of detailed sections at the moment, and the detailed sections, by the way, as we do them, they're going on to this website here, detailsections.co.uk. We're uploading there shortly. Cupboards are pretty much bare at the moment, but in time you will be able to buy detailed sections for almost any type of build project from this website. But for now, again, thank you for joining me. Leave a message if you want to say anything, or I will come back to you. See you in the next video. Thanks very much.